Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the Pugilist Corner. We're going to talk to the Iceman, Mr. John Scully, tonight. Uh, talk to him a little bit about the Brad fight. About the Gravante and Ryan Garcia fight, some of the upcoming fights, and maybe even a couple previous fights. Uh, we're also going to be joined by Mr. Art Brad, and he's going to talk to us a little bit, also critique those fights and see what's happening in his neck of the woods and what his team is putting together. So let's see. Where is Cody? Okay. So, man. Okay. Let's see where he's at. Okay. Anyway, as a lot of you know, I had said that the fight would end in the seventh round, and I felt that if the fight had went the distance, that Ryan had a much better shot at winning. Now, I did not think that it would be let me see. Hmm. Uh, Maybe he didn't get the link. Anyway, that's Scully. Scully says he's ready, and uh, not sure. Uh, Let me resend it just in case. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. All right. Okie dokie. So, uh, anyway, as I was saying, I predicted the fight would go less than 8 rounds, and that Tank would stop Garcia. I thought it would be a much more brutal fight, uh, but to Tank's credit, he didn't let it turn into a brawl. He was very patient, did what he had to do, and okay, let me. Yes, I can, John. Okay, let's. Uh, Here. Okay, let's. Let me see here. Okay. All right. Okay. There we go. Um, but there are a couple things that caught my eye before and after uh, the fight. Uh, when you look at the weigh-in and the press conferences, Golden Boy Golden Boy was in full attendance, presence everywhere. Even to the extent that there appeared to be a confrontation between Bernard and Tank. I see Scully is there. Okay. Scully, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. Looking prosperous as usual, my man. How's the weather up there?
Not bad. A little chilly, but it's definitely warming up.
Okay, okay, all right. You never can tell these days. I mean, it's
Yeah,
it's 80 one day and the next day is 20.
right.
So, it's
100%.
yeah. So, how have things been since the last time we talked?
Everything's good, man. Just had a busy year so far, keeping busy with a lot of stuff, and I've got more to come.
Uh, well, let's. What do you got coming up? I thought I heard something about the fights opening back up at the casino. Also,
Right. Well, yeah, they had a show Saturday night in at the Mohegan Sun. I wasn't there. I was actually in Las Vegas, so I wasn't there. But they did have a show at the casino. Foxwoods doesn't do anything, but the Mohegan Sun's been kind of steady.
uh, so you were in Vegas for the fight.
Right.
Uh, I know that's always an exciting time for you, looking up old friends, seeing old friends, and whatnot.
Right.
So uh, let's kind of start at the weigh-in. Did you see or hear what transpired between Bernard and Tank?
Right. I mean, the thing is, on the one hand, you could say, who does Tank think he is? Tank's a borderline little person. You know what I mean? He's
That,
trying to
that,
jump at
that was my
Bernard.
first impression. That,
Yeah,
that that was my first impression.
he's trying to jump at Bernard. And let's not get it twisted. I mean, Bernard's older, but Bernard's Bernard. Bernard's a street guy. You know what I mean? 100%. And I'm sure he hasn't lost that mentality. He's every bit as street as Tank is. But by the same token, apparently he touched Tank with his right hand, apparently. And a fighter, the day of a fight, at the weigh-in, I mean, he's a ticking time bomb. And so you don't want to do anything. And he was saying after, which made sense, he said, why is Bernard on our side? Like, he's supposed to be on the other side of the goal line, you know what I mean? But he's on my side and he's touching me. So I could understand that. I could see both sides of it, but I could understand a fighter not wanting the enemy touching him, talking to him, being near him, anything.
But he is a legend.
Right.
I
No,
mean,
but see, I understand that, and I'm sure Tank understands that. But it's kind of like when you're in that zone,
in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, you're in the moment. I mean, listen. I mean, you're ready to fight. You've trained and sacrificed. I don't think he would care who was there. You know what I mean? It could be, Klitschko could be there, or Tyson Fury could be there, and he's still going to jump. And so I understand it. I definitely, as a fighter, I would understand that.
Well, like I said, my first impression was how dare he, but then my
Right.
second, my second reaction was, well, it was in the heat of the moment. So
Right. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay, so what were your impressions of? Well, let's go back to this because I think this was very smart on Tank's part. How did you like the clause saying that they couldn't put on more than 10 pounds after the weigh-in?
I
You think
hate
that?
it. I hate it. I
But but
despise
but
it. I
but but but,
despise it.
but don't you think that was very smart on
Oh
Tank's?
yeah, yeah, for sure. But that's the thing. Like we've gotten to the point where like people lose sight of one thing. The sanctioning bodies are in charge, but they're not. They've lost control. Like you have fighters telling the sanctioning body, "Nah, forget your weight class. We're doing our own weight class." You
Well,
know, and like here's the thing. If in my eyes, like a James Toney, right? I remember James Toney. We were at a weigh-in. He fought Anthony Hembrick. Anthony Hembrick was a very good fighter, an Olympian, an elite amateur, solid pro, USBA champ, the whole nine. Anthony was 6'2", smooth boxer, smooth. James was fighting him. I was in camp with James, and I was at the weigh-in, and I was just talking to Ron Katz about this on Twitter today, and I said, "You make weight, Hembrick gets on. Hembrick is like 6 pounds over the weight, right? 6 pounds. Now, people make a big deal over 3/4 of a pound. He was 6 pounds over at the weigh in. He's 6'2". James is 5'9". And everybody's freaking out like, oh man, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? James said, I don't care what that mother effer weighs. He can weigh 200 if he wants to. He don't even have to lose it. Because everybody, whenever you're at a weigh-in, if somebody comes in a
yeah.
half-pound heavy, immediately they go, okay, you got to lose it. We're not fighting unless you lose that half-pound. James Toney said, I don't care what he weighs. Let him weigh anything he wants. And that's exactly what happened. He did not hesitate. That's his true self. He did not hesitate. Now these guys are, to me, it's like you're making the guy make the weight, but he can't rehydrate. So that means when a fighter makes weight, he cannot wait to get off that scale because all the pressure is gone. That weight that he's been carrying for the last 8 weeks goes away. And now he can eat and he can lay down, he can relax. Now, Tank took that away from him. Now, people can say it's smart, but I'm a fighter. I look at it different. Like, I don't respect it because, that's like, for me, in the reality of that's like saying, and James Toney would not do this. That's like saying, I can beat you, but I'm not sure. I need to make sure. I got to have you do this weight class. I got to stress you out. I got to do my thing, and the sanction body, if I run the sanction body, I say, Tank Davis, go to hell. Go to hell. We're not doing this. If you don't want to fight him at the weight that it is, then quit boxing because people gain weight after the weigh-ins, period. That's the way you cannot hinder that. That's when you start messing with people's bodies and you're putting them in danger because they're not rehydrating the way they normally would, the way they want to psychologically. I'm not a fan of that at all. I'm not a fan of any of that stuff. I'm not a fan of clauses and super champions and special
But
champions
but
and
but
all that.
here's the thing though, Scully. They met at a catch weight. If they had met at a proper weight class, then yeah, I can understand that. But
What was the catch weight? What was it?
136.
Right. So, my thing is that you're if you're like you say, James Toney is the epitome for me. He's the role model. James Toney will fight toe to toe.
We don't
Well,
have
no,
those
but listen,
kind of
I'm giving
boxers
my view.
anymore,
He
Scully.
goes he goes toe to toe with Hasim Rahman. The guy was a middleweight. He goes toe to toe with Hasim Rahman. He goes toe to toe with all these big guys. He goes toe to toe with Sam Peter. No weight clause. No, I don't want you to be over 220.
Different era, different kind of box.
Listen,
Scully,
then
Scully,
that's the problem. Then
Scully,
that's the issue.
Scully.
I don't like this era.
Those guys aren't coming out of the dressing room anymore.
I don't like this era. I don't like this era. I don't like it.
Hey, I understand. I mean,
Look at
remember,
Roberto Duran. Roberto Duran is I know Duran a little bit. I've been around him many times. He's not a big man at all. Now he was a 135. His best weight go probably 47, right? And he fights Iran Barkley, who is a monster at 160, and he goes toe to toe and beats Iran, and drops Iran late and everything, uh, and he can do that. Doesn't ask Iran to not rehydrate to 170. I'm sure Iran was 175 when he came in the ring. Roberto was 159 probably. It's a different mentality. It's a different era. I don't like it. It's not good for us because going on, it's going to get softer and softer and softer, and they're gonna chip away at the warrior mentality, and people are not going to be come. Every kid in Baltimore is going to idolize Tank Davis and everything he does, and you're going to have kids in the Golden Gloves, 17 years old, talking about weight clauses, and they want this kid to not gain too much weight. I mean, it's not a good role model for me.
Well, Tank. I'm glad you mentioned that because Tank Davis feels that he is now the face of boxing, and even when I mean, you know, it's not that I'm not a Tank Davis fan
Yeah.
because I do think that he brings excitement into the ring every time he fights.
Right.
But I just don't think that he's at that plateau where he is the face of boxing, or maybe not even in the top five pound for pound.
Right. Well, here's my thing. If you when Sugar Ray Leonard was the face of boxing, when Muhammad Ali was the face of boxing, if you went to the mall at your house, near your house, and asked 10 people if they knew who Sugar Ray Leonard was, Muhammad Ali, they would say yes. Casual people on the street would know Muhammad Ali. They would know Sugar Ray Leonard. They would understand Mike Tyson. Everybody to this day still knows Mike Tyson, right? You go to the mall today and ask 10 people who's Tank Davis. You will be lucky if two of them have any idea what you're talking about. There's not people walking around that know who Tank Davis is. He's
Three of
not.
them think that he's a swimmer.
Yeah, right. He's not. It's we have too many things going on with the internet, and there's too much going on, and people are getting lost in the shuffle. The guy is not a. He's not a superstar in the manner that Sugar Ray Leonard was a superstar. Tank Davis couldn't do a 7-Up commercial, right? And people across the world would go, "Who's that guy? Is he a fighter? Is he a rapper? Is he a football? What is he? A football player? I don't know who he is." But everybody they knew who Sugar Ray Leonard was already because of the Olympics, and he had the smile and all that stuff. So I think we live in a different era. So being the face of boxing isn't quite as powerful as it was when Mike Tyson was the face of boxing. It's a little bit different era right now.
Uh, I would even say Lennox Lewis. I mean, there's a couple. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, Evander Holyfield.
Right.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
but okay, so let's talk about game plans.
Right.
What did you think about Calvin's game plan that he instilled in Tank before the fight?
I thought it was masterful, really. Like he executed it. I'll tell you what, believe it or not, what he reminded me of was Arthur Beterbiev last two fights. He reminded me, especially the way when Arthur fought Joe Smith. He had Joe coming for him, and he was circling, and it looked like he was trying to get out of the way, and then he ran him into something. And we ended it a lot earlier, but the game plan was similar. I think that Tank fought a very smart fight, and he executed. And I think Ryan made a mistake. He should have seen that coming. When you're going after a small explosive guy like that, you have to know sooner or later something's going to come back. It was early in the fight. As the rounds go, the guy's going to run you into something. I thought that giving all the circumstances with the height and the explosiveness, I thought he should have waited on Tank and forced Tank to come forward. I think people tend to, because Tank is small, they feel like they need to make the fight a little bit more, and it appears that he's loving that. He's waiting for you to come and try to get to him.
Okay. Now, that first knockdown in the
Yeah,
second round,
yeah,
Ryan had actually hit Tank with a couple good shots.
yeah,
Um, and that's when I think, to me, the complexion of the fight changed, because I think after that, even though he was cautious, Tank felt that that was the best that Ryan had.
right.
So, how do you? I mean, as a layman, I didn't really see that coming. But how can you explain to us how Tank got that straight right? Was it a straight right or a straight left?
There was a left hand.
Yeah,
He's a
uh,
southpaw.
yeah.
Um, like I say, he saw that Ryan was trying to be aggressive, and so he kind of moved away, but he didn't run. I mean, he moved away just enough for Ryan to keep coming, and he lined him up and he caught him in the middle of something. I was, I never really saw Tank as like a technical genius before. I never noticed it, but in this fight, I think his technique, like I say, it reminded me of Arthur's last couple fights in a big way. Like, I think he really was smart and he took his time, even though he was the puncher, even though he's the bigger, more explosive guy. He was the guy setting the trap and allowing Ryan to walk into it. I thought Ryan, for being such a tall kid, and he does have power and boxing skill, and I thought, all things considered, he should have forced Tank to come forward and try to let Tank try to make the fight. But he chose to back him up, and the way Tank was. It's funny because me watching it on TV, I can see what Tank is doing. He's backing up, kind of setting things up. I think Ryan probably didn't realize it because he's in there, he's close to the action, and he feels Tank backing up, and he's saying, "Oh man, it's working. I've got him backing up. Now I'm gonna settle down and get to him." And he just, I think Tank really did some good work in there with setting him up.
Okay, now I thought Joe Goosen had some very interesting remarks after, uh, and maybe you can kind of explain it to the just general audience. When Goosen said that you don't really train Ryan Garcia, that you kind of collaborate with him. Now, you know, I, I just can't imagine Emmanuel Stewart with that kind of attitude.
Right.
If a boxer comes I mean, he wasn't, well, you know, what were your thoughts on
Well,
that?
I mean, I think what he meant was, I think he felt like Ryan. He was giving Ryan his respect as a world class fighter, and he was saying, "I'm not going to just dictate everything to Ryan. Like, if Ryan has some input and something he thinks that would work and that he feels is one of his strengths, uh, if he wants to implement it, I'm going to listen." So I think he was probably giving Ryan his respect as a fighter, and when a trainer and a fighter get to know each other, some people you can, like, I'll give an example. I think Teddy Atlas is probably the type of trainer where it's what he says goes. What he says you're going to do, that's what you're going to do. Whereas with other guys like Angelo Dundee, I think Angelo Dundee was kind of like, all right, let me see what you have to say. And he let his fighters be a part of the process. So it works for some people, it doesn't work for other people, but I'm assuming that's what Joe was saying, that he was allowing Ryan to tell him what he felt, and what he felt maybe might work. And for better or worse, I think that's the kind of relationship they have.
All right. Then I have to take it a step further because at the press conference after Ryan got knocked out,
Mm-hmm.
there was no Joe, there was no Oscar. I mean, Oscar's talking about he had death threats. I mean, Oscar's entourage is bigger than Joe Biden's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it seemed to me, and I'm not really, like trying to take sides, but it seemed like after he lost the fight, they abandoned him. I mean,
Right.
I
Right.
mean that. Like I said, once again, not having that experience of being in the ring, winning or losing, but it would seem that especially if you had lost the biggest fight of your life, that you would
Right.
at least want your team there behind you.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, and it's funny you say that because I had just heard about that yesterday, and it reminded me of something. And as a trainer, I want not only did I want to be there if a guy lost, but I wanted to make it a point to be there. You know what I mean? And I remember when Chad Dawson got stopped by Andre Ward. You know, weight loss aside, whatever, we got stopped, and it was a big loss. And so when the fight was over, they were in the ring talking to Larry Merchant or whoever it was, and I tried to get in the ring. I'm the trainer. And I walked over there, and this woman who works for HBO, I forget her name, but she used to do stuff like this with a lot of fighters and trainers. And she got in my way. I said, "Hey, I'm with the fighter." She goes, "No, no, no, no. The TV's already on." And she wouldn't. And I said, "Listen, I'm trying to show him I'm with it. What are you crazy?" Like, her and I really got into it, and she would not let me be there. So I don't know what Chad thought. Maybe he thought I wasn't there for him, but I was trying to be. I don't know Joe's situation. I don't know what he said. I know Oscar said about the death threat. Um, I'll say this: if they, which I find hard to believe, honestly, if they just abandoned him because he lost, I'd find that hard to believe. I I wouldn't respect that at all. I know Joe a little bit. I don't think he would do that. And like I think there must have been a reason he wasn't there. I don't know what he said if they asked him, but I'd be surprised. I mean, Oscar, I don't really know Oscar well. I don't know. Uh, I wouldn't be a fan of that if they didn't show up because he lost, because he got stopped. I wouldn't respect that at all. I wouldn't be a fan of that.
Maybe it's just the pessimist in me, but I find the fact that Arthur gets death threats in Las Vegas a little weak, also.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I
that's
mean,
it's a little far fetched.
Mike Tyson gets death threats in Las Vegas.
Yeah. I mean, I could see getting a threat, but I couldn't see someone carrying it out. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal here. Uh, I don't know why he would get a death threat, but they all didn't get death threats. I guess right. I didn't think they. I don't think the killer said he's going to kill all of them, and so I don't know. But so nobody showed up. Like, nobody from his team showed up.
No, he was sitting there alone by himself. Well, he had his family,
Right,
and and
but promoter, trainer, manager, they weren't there.
there was one employee there from a Golden Boy, and
Right.
his family. But no Joe,
Well,
no
Oscar should
Oscar.
have been there. Joe and Oscar should have been there for
Yeah.
100%.
Uh, you know, uh,
100%.
Bernard, he said, well, they wouldn't let him in because of the incident, but he was the only one that was in sight. I'll put it that way. Now,
Yeah.
I'm sure the cameras would have panned all over, but I mean, I'm just saying. But Scully, what fight are you most looking forward to now? That we've had this Tyson Fury fight fall through. Deontay's talking about coming back. Um, is there anything that you're excited about? I'm looking for that one. I haven't found it, but I'm looking for that. I mean,
I've got one.
I know you're going to hate me for saying this, Scully, but
Yeah,
right now I'm looking. I'm seeing a little more excitement in the women's matchups than I am in the men's.
yeah. Well, I'm waiting on Arthur and Bivol, right? And it
Oh,
as time goes on, it seems very clear to me, like behind all the reasoning and the business, and like it just appears that none of these top guys, Canelo and Bivol, and I said this many times, I don't blame them, but they don't want to fight Arthur.
they're
Just
going to get old. They're
it,
going
right.
to
They're
get.
waiting for him to get old, and he's not appearing to get oblige them. He's looking devastating. But you know, as I said many times, like if a guy doesn't want to fight Arthur, I don't blame him. I wouldn't blame him at all. But the thing is, they're champions. They have to fight. They have to. But I feel like they're waiting for him to get old. He's not obliging, so they're just gonna keep waiting. He's gonna be 40 before this happens. So I'm waiting to hear back. I think we're going to England this summer to fight Callum Smith, but I don't know. I think if you ask anyone that really knows boxing, they're gonna say they want to see Arthur and Bivol. Like that's the fight. That's the obvious fight at light heavyweight. There's no other fight at light heavyweight that people could say, yeah, it's more important if this guy fights Bivol. No, like Arthur and Bivol is the only two. That's it.
No, especially after Bivol beat Canelo. I mean, I thought it was a natural
Of
matchup.
course, of
The
course,
next
hundred
fight.
percent, hundred
Yeah.
percent, hundred
And,
percent.
and I've said, that there was no way that Canelo was going to fight Arthur. I mean, I just didn't see that in the cards. But Bivol, like you said, sooner or later it's going to be a mandatory. And who else is there for Bivol to fight?
Right.
On Pascal. I mean, what are we going to do here?
Well, no, Pascal just lost his last fight.
Did he do? Okay.
Yeah, he just lost.
Yeah, I think that's the fight I didn't think he should have been in anyway after the last circumstances. But anyway, Scully, hey, thanks as always, man. You got any reunions coming up? You going
Just
back out to Vegas? Coming out here in Southern Cal? What's up?
I just actually I've been a little bit. I just came back in the last month or so. I was in Detroit, I was in Los Angeles, and I
Yeah.
was in. I'm doing what I think is going to be the most exciting and biggest reunion I've ever done. June 24th in Times Square. And when I say Times Square, I mean outside. We're taking over the whole Times Square. We're just showing up and we're going to take over. And I've got guys from California, Washington State, Hawaii telling me they're coming. Canada. I got guys. This is going to be it's going to be incredible. And there's a fight that night at the Garden. Edgar Belanga's fighting. So we're gonna hang out during the day until about 5 o'clock. Everybody's gonna go get ready. We're gonna go to the fight, and then after the fight, we're gonna go across the street from the Garden, and there's a place. I don't know if I don't know the name of it, but it's like a bar, I guess, bar and a restaurant. Dave Diamante, he's the ring announcer with the white guy with the long dreads.
Right,
Uh,
right.
he owns a bar right across the street and a restaurant across the street from the Garden. So we're gonna go in Times Square right outside all day. We're gonna go to the fight, then we're gonna go to his spot right after. June 24th.
All right, man. Well, hey, hopefully everything turns out all right. Hope that the New York weather, isn't rainy for you, and you know, God willing, everything goes okay. So, hey, thanks as always, my man. I appreciate you, and look
Yes,
forward to talking to you again soon.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you for having me.
All right, my man. You have a
All
good
right.
night. That was John the Iceman Scully. Always good talking to Scully. I think we're going to talk to him when we get Miss Melissa Smith back. But I see Art Brad is here. Art, how you doing tonight? Let me get you up here with me. How you doing tonight, Art?
Hey, what's up, James? Man, I'm trying to get through these these technical difficulties, but we're making it. Everything's good down here. In a lot of rain down in Florida. I don't know if you've been checking the news or not, but I think we have a hurricane down here, and they didn't tell us about it.
Well, y'all had two of them before the rain, didn't you?
Man, I don't know. It's just all water is water, man. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to stay dry. Yeah, man.
I, I hear you. I saw
Yeah.
you on Clubhouse there a few moments ago, uh,
Okay.
before I got Scully in.
Yeah.
And yeah, I must say, man, you've been doing a great job with the rooms there, and I see a lot more people being able to participate. I see you got a lot of the usual suspects there, of course. I saw McGee and a couple others uh, look like. Uh,
Right.
what's been going on, man? Since the last time we talked, uh, you had a couple big fights down there. Now has and that was the one before the first hurricane, I believe, or
Yeah.
right after the first hurricane.
Right. Right. Yes.
Plant City, right?
Yeah. It was down in uh well, the first one was in Plant City. Well, that was with Tara Promotions, and then the other one was actually in Tampa. And I mean, man, just a tremendous night. I want to commend Tara Promotions. They did a splendid job. All of the fights were great fights. I think it could have been a major pay-per-view event, in terms of the excitement of the fights. There were a lot of young guys on there. So, I'm just happy that that took place the way that it did. And I think the future of boxing, man, is like tremendous. We have a lot to look forward to when it comes to, of course, the Robinson boys. And Ibrahim, he had a really tough fight, uh, and it ended up in a draw. Everyone thought, it should have went Ibrahim's way. Some people felt that, it was a justified draw. I thought Ibrahim won the fight, and then his younger brother Muhammad Robinson, he got a first round stoppage, which was good. And then the finale of, and I definitely don't want to leave out Lamont Powell. I think people need to really, really, really tune into him. I call him the shark. He is, I mean, tremendous talent, man. I'm kind of
Oh
wondering like where has he been?
man, you were going
Yeah.
out on me.
Okay. Can you hear me okay now, James? You
Okay,
got me?
I got
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it was
I got.
I was just saying Lamont Powell is a tremendous talent, and I mean, I think he's a next level type talent. So we really need to lock
Now,
in on
now,
him.
what weight class is he?
He fights at 54 or 60, and he says he's comfortable, very comfortable at both. So whatever it is, whatever smoke is there, he's gonna go get it. Um, and then of course the grand finale of the night, which was a tremendous fight, was T2 Antonio Tarver Jr. Man, that fight with him and Dwelly was just a classic fight. He ended up winning a regional title, and they're looking for a lot of great things to come from him. So that was a great night of action, and I was glad to be able to witness it in person. So that's what that is, man.
All right. Well, hey, glad to see everything turned out all right. We'll talk a little bit about the future here in a minute. Uh, but what did you think about the Gavante Davis fight?
Well, I mean, it went exactly like, I don't know. I think me and you may have spoken about it. Maybe on the first time I was here. I know I've been here a couple times since then, but if there's any record of me speaking about that fight, well, not necessarily about that fight, but just about Ryan, specifically. I felt that he leaves his defense out there. After he throws that left hook, we saw that against Luke Campbell, And I felt that it was gonna happen against Tank, and it did in the second round. And I think after that second round, Ryan felt that power, and at that point, I used to watch Floyd all the time, right? Floyd Mayweather, and the fighters would come in with a strategy, right? And then there would be a point in the fight where you would see Floyd adjust or take away whatever it was they were planning to do, and then that opposing fighter would have a "what do I do now" moment, right? I think after the second round, when Ryan was knocked down, it became a "what do I do now" moment for Ryan Garcia, and from that point, it looked like Tank was just able to control the fight, and it went as I had expected it to. And congratulations to Ryan for getting in there and fighting, and definitely congratulations for Tank for winning that big fight.
Now, what did you think about Calvin's Ford's game plan as a trainer? What did you admire most about the game plan that he put out for Tank? Not only that, but Tank followed the game plan.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I watch Tank fight, I feel that Tank is in a space uh where he is analyzing everything that's coming at him, right? I think that Calvin and Kenny, and I've had some experience with them years and years ago before, they even start doing this, um, just living in Baltimore. But I think that they have done a tremendous job in terms of, analyzing the opponent and just breaking down some of the things that the opponent's weaknesses. I think is I would say. But you got to give them a lot of credit. The whole camp, because Tank is winning right now, and he's winning impressively. He's not. It's not going the distance, which is nothing wrong going the distance, but he's winning in the type of fashion that people want to see, that the fans want to come out and see. They want to see the knockouts, right? As media people, we just report on what we see, right? But in terms of Tank, he's the guy that's in the ring, and people want to see Tank get a knockout, and he understands that. That's why, we have to consider him a knockout artist. He's 90% plus knockout ratio, right? What is he, 29 and 0 with 27 KOs? I mean, that's a true knockout artist. And if you look at what he does against Santa Cruz, against all these guys, he'll wait. He's very patient. And I like what I see from Tank. I see a lot of improvement from day one, and he seems to be getting better and better. And you have to attribute that to his team and his own ability and desire to want to get better. So I think with that combination, man, it's hard to go wrong with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A lot of people have said that Tank is an intelligent fighter. Eddie Hearn seems to have a difference of opinion with that, and Tank took exception to the fact that people don't recognize his intelligence in the ring. Uh, Going back to when you were talking about when you get to that point to where the fighter says, "What do I do now?"
Right.
I, I think that moment came for Ryan when he hit Tank twice in that second round, and Tank responded by knocking him down with that straight left. I think that became the aha moment.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And another thing, when I look at Ryan, I see a fighter with a lot of physical attributes at 135 pounds. One of the things that I don't see, though, is the improvement on taking care of his defense. If you're that tall and you have that. I don't even know if I want to say it's an advantage because Tank has been short all his life, right? So he's used to guys being taller than him, right? So is it really an advantage? You know what I'm saying? So, but when I see a fighter like that and they don't do the things defensively that they need to do, then you gotta really try to find out, what the remedy is for that. You know, I like the build up to the fight. Ryan seemed to be very confident, and he came in the fight, but it was very clear when Tank landed or scored the knockdown in the second round that he understood that, okay, this is a different level, and I need to do something different here, right? But he was not able to make the adjustments, and it kind of looked like it was a matter of time, honestly, after that moment.
um, couple things. Um, Joe Goosen is his trainer, Ryan's trainer,
Right.
said that you don't really train Ryan. He uh, kind of collaborates, and and maybe that was why we didn't see Plan B. Do you think? I mean, as as someone with a training background, when you look at the contrast between the way Tank handled adversity in that second round, he ended up knocking Ryan down, and the way that Ryan handled adversity, not having a game, a plan B. What did you think about, like that maybe Ryan needs someone with a sterner hand?
Well, I've sat down, I've analyzed this, right? And okay, when we talk about fighters and being Hall of Famers and champions and very well respected. I mean, he has two guys on this promotional team, Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins. No one's going to argue about their status in the boxing world, right? We can look at his trainer, who's trained several world champions, right? So, I mean, do we really, when we're looking for reasons, are there any other reasons besides the fact that Tank just was a better fighter? You know what I mean? Because none of these questions came up in the beforehand. But in the other fights, like where was these questions? When he got off the ground and he knocked out, he came back and stopped Luke Campbell. We didn't have these. We were like, oh, he's great and da da da. But I mean, sometimes you got to call it what it is, man. Tank was just a better fighter that night. He showed that he was a highly skilled fighter against Ryan by just the different things he was doing. I mean, he had like I'll just say quote size disadvantage. He let Ryan come to him, and he showed some great defense. If you slow all the punches down in that second round before the knockdown came, even in the first round, Tank, he moved his head, ducked, did a lot of good stuff in there. So sometimes we just got to call it what it is, man. I know we like to look for reasons, but in my eye, the reason is that Tank was just a better guy that night. I don't want to blame anyone else. If we're gonna point the finger, then we got to point it back to Ryan, right? Because he was the guy in the ring. So he has to look within himself and think about what he needs to do to get better, to face, because I heard some about a rematch or something like that.
No, there's no rematch.
Well, I know it's not official. I know it's not official, but I've seen a couple videos where that came up, right? So somewhere down the line in the future, something should happen like that. He has to look within himself and see what he needs to do to be better and to have a different outcome.
Okay, well now I'll go that way before I throw this other curveball at you. But he says that he wants to go up to 140. That's his solution. Now, now,
To what? Go to
now,
what?
I mean, he's, this, hey, this is what he says. He said it in the press conference afterwards that his next, because they asked him who he wanted to fight, and he said his next move is up to 140 because he feels much stronger.
Okay.
So I mean, so he'll get knocked out in the fifth round instead of the seventh. But anyway, that's different. Uh, he
Well,
didn't take it. He didn't take it. Now, at the very least, and I kind of thought this was disrespectful. Also, I know you're the bigger man, but you're fighting Tank Davis. You need a tune-up.
mm,
Just my opinion.
right,
Yeah, I mean, before you go out and like tackle the baddest ass in the bar.
right,
Maybe you start with a bouncer in front to see how you fare against him. You
right. That's a great analogy.
know, I mean, what's your thoughts here?
Well, this is the deal, man. I'm gonna just keep it all the way 100, and this is Art Brad talking, okay? And I don't claim to be all knowing or whatever, but what I saw is a guy who didn't take care of his defense. Um, I've seen it in other fights. He throws a left hook and he lets it stay out there, doesn't pull it back. Same thing with the jab, and he can go to 140 or he can even go back down to 130. Until he corrects that, we're going to see the same results when he goes in with the guy that has the ability to recognize it, a team that can recognize it, someone that's going to go to the gym and work on it, and they go in and implement it like Tank did. So it doesn't, the weight doesn't matter, and people say, "Oh, you're gonna feel stronger." Okay, he can be as strong as a ox, but if you don't pull that defense back, when your chin gets touched and your brain shakes, you're going to go down. It doesn't matter who you are.
And you got knocked out with a body shot. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, he did.
I
He did.
mean,
He did get stopped with the body shot. Well,
and I
another.
understand. I know that can be stand up in a way, but you know, I'm just thinking if somebody at 140, touches that chin, I'm just saying. But
Yeah, well,
I
I
had
talk
another
about.
observation also.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was saying I talk about that shot because I think that really is what set the tone, for everything else that happened in the fight. You know, once that second round happened, it was pretty evident, what was gonna eventually happen in the fight. I mean, his whole everything stopped. He changed up. He landed. He threw three hooks. I guess that was the sixth round in a row there.
Yeah,
But I think he kind of saw that Tank was really trying to set him up. Uh, and I mean, I don't know. I would like to ask him because I don't want to speak for him, but he kind of stopped. He was throwing the hooks, and then he stopped the right hook, right hand. He was throwing at that time, and it looked like he pulled back. Tank wasn't really moving around. He was just kind of waiting, I think, and maybe touched him with a short shot in there. But the bottom line is that boxing is just not offense. You can hit as hard as you want. You know what Ali used to say? He said, yeah, they come through and they hit hard and they got this power, but I fix it and I don't give them anything to hit, right? So defense is what fighters definitely need to emphasize, because it's all a part of the whole thing. It's all a part of the whole game. So, and I think Ryan, um, did not do what he needed to do defensively in this fight, and Tank took advantage of that, and that's what we saw.
now, as I was talking to Scully, uh, from a boxer's point of view, I'm also going to come to you with this from a trainer's point of view, from a promoter's point of view, however you'd like to answer it. Because you mentioned earlier, that part of his promotions team was uh, uh, Oscar and Golden Boy and Bernard. Of course, there was an incident earlier that I asked Scully about that as far as Bernard was concerned. So I, I'll kind of buy Bernard's excuse why he wasn't there. But after this young man's most devastating loss of his career, there was no, I mean, his family was there, which you would expect. I mean, that's his family. And one member of Golden Boy, not Oscar. Oscar supposedly had death threats. Well, he had death threats when they put out the picture of him being in pantyhose. So I mean, that's nothing new about him getting death threats. Death threats in Las Vegas. I mean, really? Are you serious? The man has a bigger entourage than President Biden. You know,
Right.
after the fight, there was no Joe Goosen, there was no B Hop, there was no one. I mean, I can't see any. I mean, maybe it's because I'm old school and I'm thinking of Emmanuel Stewart. It didn't matter whether his fighter won or lost. Emmanuel was there for his fighter at the end of the fight, at the press conference, whatever. What do you think that there's now a rift between Golden Boy and Ryan?
Well, I'm not certain, but I did see the video that De La Hoya put out. I think it was today or yesterday. I don't know. And he talked about the death threats, and he also talked about accusations that Bernard Hopkins had steroid cream or something on his hand and was trying to touch Tank with it during the right after the weigh-in when they had the confrontation there. I don't know how true any of that is, but I've had death threats against me before, on and I mean there's certain things that come with certain professions, right? And if you're a high profile guy, you're in boxing, there's a lot of different people around the sport. There are a lot of fans that say a lot of things that just simply aren't true. A lot of prank call, a lot of different stuff. At the end of the day, if you got a team, you gotta ride with your team, win, lose, or draw. That's my feeling, right? I don't know how De La Hoya feels about that. I don't know how B Hop feels about that. I don't know what took place, what actually took place. I just know what I saw De La Hoya say, you know. And if that was their reason for not being there, then I'm sure that they had an understanding of the situation that uh, you know caused them to do what they did. But in my opinion, I don't care what nobody says. If that's my guy, if he won, if he lost, or whatever the case is, I'm definitely gonna be there with him. And that's just how I feel about it. Not everybody may feel the same way. I don't know. So I think I want to wait and see what else is said about the situation so I can have a better understanding of it though.
Do you think, and this is just hypothetical, do you really think that Oscar would have missed the fight, missed the press conference if Ryan had knocked Gavante out? Do you
Well,
really think? Do you
great
really
question.
think that? Do you really think that Oscar would have missed that press conference if Ryan had won that fight? If he
That's
had knocked
a
Tank
question.
out, do you think that? I'm just starting.
I don't think so. I don't.
I'm just saying.
But I will say this. I will say this, right? People can say, whatever they want to say. At the end of the day, it's a person's ways, deeds, and actions that really tell you what kind of character they have. Like people can say this and yeah, I'm this and oh no, this happened and da 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 da. But what's your track record? Has there been any other situations like this where a press conference was missed? Do we see any other things? It's just like I was talking to some guys the other day. They were talking about Lomachenko. I think we talked about this fight when he fought Teo. Well, actually, we talked, yeah, and Teo beat him, and they were saying it was the strategy that was wrong. He didn't. He gave up rounds in the beginning. I said, well, wait a second. Were there any other fights where he gave up rounds? So why we get to Teo and now start to give up rounds? Nah. So you gotta
Well,
look at a person's track record. What do they do all the time? I don't know if De La Hoya and B Hop missed any other press conferences. I don't know. But again, I don't know the situation. So I can't really, speak on. I can only go by what they're saying. But I can speak on the fact that I don't think they missed any other press conferences
they,
after
I
the fight.
bet I bet Joe Goosen didn't give up his 10% either. But anyway, I'm just saying, man.
Man.
I'm just starting stuff here, man. But hey, what you got going on, man? What's coming up?
Well, we're really making some leeway with this with the whole punch by punch boxing show. As a matter of fact, this Thursday we've got a really phenomenal guest coming on. And I'm sure you know her, Jackie Sunshine Smith. She's I would say, a extremely significant person in boxing, and um, she's gonna come in and just talk about a lot of stuff in terms of the history of what her experience has been as a female promoter in boxing. I've been, speaking to a lot of women fighters, such as Maureen Shea and Tara Brown, and just really trying to get a better understanding with some of the promoters that I speak with of what their feeling is about women's boxing and why we don't see some of these talented women fight and box. And I think that moving forward, because we had this great card in England, but there are a lot of fighters here in the States, a lot of female fighters here in the States that will make tremendous, fight cards. But the show is really something we're working hard on now. We've got a whole radio slot channel, not just a slot, but a channel, and we're gonna run boxing on that 24 hours a day. It's gonna start in about a couple months, and we're talking to a lot of people that got podcasts and that sort of thing, see if they want to do that. We'll be able to reach 15 million people globally, and we just really want to push the sport as much as we can, do our small part, and report the facts, unbiased media, and that sort of thing. It's not where we got a group of executives that tell us what to say or anything like that. It's just, punch by punch, and we're going to speak the truth. And we're going to get as many people on the microphone that we can to tell their own truth. We just talked to Corey Spinks, and we had a great conversation with him last week. What's interesting, one of the topics that came up was, who is the greatest boxing family, right? And we started to think, well, let's look at Leon Spinks. He beat Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time, my greatest of all time, right? And then we go to Michael Spinks, who had 2 victories over Larry Holmes, right? And yeah, it might be some controversy there, whatever the case is, but he has 2 victories over Larry Holmes, right? And then we look at Corey, who was undisputed. So we have 3 members of the Spinks family that were undisputed champions. Is there any other boxing family that can say that? So you see, now we can have some conversations. Who's the greatest boxing family of all time? So, we like to talk about those things, man, and just really bring a lot of awareness to the people, to the fans about boxing and what's going on. And Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, in the Punch by Punch boxing room, we're going to be speaking with Jackie, and she has a whole lot to say, just being a woman in the sport, and how she was it's a lot of things she had to go through, to get to where
Oh
she
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, we talked that you should also get Melissa Smith on your show. If there's anyone that knows the history of women's boxing, definitely you should talk to her. She's got at least 4 or 5 books out, and we've talked to her uh, on numerous occasions. Jackie, of course, and yeah, women's boxing could very well be that bridge that we need to get fans back interested in boxing. I don't know about you, but I'm a little more caught up watching Clarissa Shields than I am watching Jake Paul or one of them.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, even with Clarissa, we look at her. She's done something that's phenomenal. With being a double gold medalist, and she's got a good fight coming up, good rematch coming up. But the thing is that just for boxing as a whole, I think we need to really focus on every aspect of it, because there are a lot of great, even in the men's boxing. One of the things that a lot of fans have been frustrated with is not seeing the big fights happen. So I think when we can start to iron some of those things out and get it back to the fighters wanting to actually fight each other to prove who's the best. Of course, now a lot of these fighters are more business conscious, so that's going to impact, I think, some of their decision making. But you know, from a fan's perspective, and without the fans, then nothing really happens, right? So, you gotta really,
somebody got to buy those pay-per-views.
somebody gotta buy them, and they gotta come to the fights. You know what I mean? So we gotta have the best fighting the best, which is what I really like about 135 right now. We just saw Tank and we saw Ryan. They got them on. Shakur's been screaming out for everybody. And we got Lomo and Devin Haney coming up. So, I mean, I love the 135-pound division. But I want to say one more thing. I hope we don't forget about the young man, Frank Martin, either, because he's coming as well. So I'm looking forward to see what happens at 135 in the future.
Okay, all right. Well, like I said, like 135, 140, 147, you can practically go right up to light heavy almost. I mean, we have some very good people in all of these weight classes, and Boo Boo is going to be back in the ring. I want to see how that turns out. Uh, you know,
Right.
uh, I've been screaming, about them disrespecting. Boo Boo's my man. I mean, I got pictures
Yeah.
with Boo Boo the whole 9 yards. So Boo
Nah,
Boo's my
phenomenal
man. But
talent.
anyway,
Phenomenal talent.
yeah. But yeah, hey man, glad to see you doing big things. I want to stay in touch. Get you guys, some of you guys on the show. And like you said, just keep supporting our sport. That's the biggest thing to
Right.
me. So give us your social media, some final thoughts, man, and glad you could join me tonight.
Well, yeah. So I would love for everyone to tap in with us on. We do our our show over the audio app Clubhouse. Very convenient for everybody to tap in. You can listen to it while you're at work. You don't have to really, engage, but you can hear the great stories that come. We've had, who's who in there. Just go to Punch by Punch Boxing on Clubhouse. Also, you can go to the website and you'll see a lot of stuff going on there. When you go to the website, you'll see some of the business, things that we're involved with. Uh, that's Punch by Punch Boxing. I'm sorry, punchbypunch.com is the website. And some in terms of final thoughts, man, I just thank you for allowing me to come to your platform and speak to you. I feel honored and privileged to be able to do that from time to time. Definitely want to have you in the Punch by Punch boxing room on the Punch by Punch boxing show at some point in time as well. And I just commend you, brother. Keep doing what you're doing. Definitely help this sport move forward, and we're gonna keep on riding the train and keep on doing what we do.
I hear you, brother. You have a great night, man.
Okay, you too, James. Take it easy, brother.
Yeah. Talk to you soon.
All right, later.
Yeah. That was our special broadcast tonight, featuring Art Brad as well as John Scully, and just wanted to see what some of our fellow pugilist lovers thought about this weekend's fight, and about Tank in particular, about what happened with Oscar and the Golden Boy team. It should be interesting to see where Ryan Garcia goes from here. If Golden Boy is still going to be his promoters, if Joe Goosen is still going to be his trainers. So there's a lot of questions to be answered by Ryan Garcia, and we hope to see him in the ring soon. And I'm sure that we'll see Tank at the Lomachenko fight. I'm just thinking that maybe he'll show up, but we'll see. So have a great night, everyone. We'll talk to you soon, right here on the Pugilist Corner. Hit that like and subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Make sure you go to our Cash App. You'll see it there on the bottom. Cash $ JE King 3. And all our donations go to the promotion of our shows. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you soon.